I'm going to review a couple of quick things for you for your final Illustrator project before we move forward. So one of the things I want to review is how to trace an image and then break those pieces up and change the colors. So I have a photo here that I got from the internet. I'm going to take my black selection arrow and I'm going to highlight it. So I've got it highlighted, and I'm going to open my image trace panel. If you don't see the image trace on the right, go to Window, open it up. Now I'm going to click the preset default and I'm going to pick 6 colors. And it's going to slowly edit that face and break it into 6 simple colors. Now let's say I want more colors than that. I can move this color bar over. I can make it 20 colors. This will make her a little bit more realistic, but it's going to give me 20 pieces that I have to dissect through if I want to change the color on something. But I think it looks pretty good, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that. Now, in order to get pieces that I can separate, I'm going to have to leave this highlighted with the black selection arrow and go Object, Expand. So Object, Expand, and when this box appears, you just say OK. Now you can see all of the outlines of all the things that I just traced. Now, this is still a solid piece. So to break it up, I have to right-click with my mouse, select Ungroup, right-click a second time, select Ungroup. Now if I click off and click back on, I can, for example, delete the empty space. I could click on her nose and double-click on my color and go and make it pink. Can make her chin a different shade of pink. So now she's got all these different fun pieces that I can play with. Now, let's say that I've got it all laid out. I like the way it looks. I can take my black selection arrow, click and highlight over all of it, and I can right click and group it. Now I can click on this picture anywhere and move it around because it's all one group. Now, another thing I asked you to do was to use a gradient. So as a reminder, underneath your stroke and fill, right here in the center, you have a gradient box. If I click on that, my pink box is going to go to a grayscale gradient. Now let's say I want to change those colors. To change the color in the gradient, I'm going to click this little white ball right here underneath my slider bar. I'm going to click on that. My color went from RGB to grayscale, so I'm going to click on these 3 little lines, pick RGB, and then I can pick any color I want to, and now it appears here. I can click underneath here when I see the plus sign, and I can add more colors. And then I can also pull colors away and get rid of them. So that's how you make a gradient. Now let's say I want to swatch. Just as a reminder, you can make a shape. And then to turn it into a swatch, you need to find your swatches panel. From your swatches panel, you want to hit the 3 little lines, open your swatch library. I like patterns. There's a whole bunch of different patterns you can select from. And when you click on them, they will apply to whatever shape you have highlighted. So now if I put this in front of my gradient square, I have a pretty cool effect happening. Another thing I mentioned in the assignment was that you could feather an object. If you've had me in a previous digital design class, I've covered that. However, last year when the world went online because of COVID, I didn't get a chance to teach that to you. So I want to show you how to feather an object just in case you haven't learned that yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create 2 circles. And I'm going to make one a lighter value and one a darker value. So I've got an orange circle and a yellow circle. I'm just going to overlap this yellow on top of the orange just a little bit so I can show you what's about to happen. So from the top toolbar, I've got my yellow highlighted. From the top toolbar, I'm going to go Effect, Stylize, Feather. So Effect, Stylize, Feather. When this box appears, you want to make sure the preview button is checked. And then notice how it starts to fade out. This is very similar to the smudge tool in Photoshop, however, it's Illustrator's version of it. So when I feel like it's feathered out enough, I can say OK, And now if I overlap my orange circle with my yellow, see how I started to make my own gradient? I can even shrink this. And now I start to have a cool highlight going on top of that. Okay, a few more things. Another thing I asked you to do was to use the type tool. So just as a quick reminder, click and let go. Type your word. You can use your black selection arrow to make it bigger or smaller. You can go to your character, which again, if you don't see it over here, go to Window, open up your type, and underneath that you will find character. So you can change the font. You can pick something different. Let me get something funky. There we go. You can change the color. Now, let's say I want to separate the letters so that I can place them in different places on the page. I can highlight them with my black selection arrow. I can right-click. I can create outlines. I can right-click again, and I can group them. Now, if I click off and click back on, I have separated my letters. So now I can move them around. I can change the scale. I can rotate them. I have a whole bunch of options. Another thing I can do is I can highlight a letter. Let me zoom in here. I can highlight a letter with my black selection arrow, and I can go to my pen tool, and I can click right on these points, and it's going to edit my shape of, it's going to edit the shape of my text. So as long as this is highlighted, I can use my pen tool to click on these points and change what it looks like. So if you just want to make your own font design, or you want to squish something around to better fit around something else you're drawing, that's something simple you can do. Now, real quick, just an explanation of the assignment. I want you to have fun and be creative and make your own image. So you get to pick the subject matter, you get to pick what you're doing. All I did is I found this reference photo online. I just typed in happy, and this person's face showed up. So I image traced her. I image traced a party hat to go on her head. I typed out party. I copied and pasted the party and changed the colors and put a gradient on it. I drew with the pen tool these little squiggly blue lines. I feathered them. I added a polka dotted swatch over it. I put a gradient across the whole picture. See how that makes her face colors deepen? So I'm using all of the things that it asked for in my assignment. So go back to Schoology, look at all of the different tools and techniques that you have to include in this assignment, and then come up with a fun idea, something creative, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.